I guess we could start from the beginning.
Uh-oh.
First of all, I'm from the Bronx. I know you're from the Bronx, BX. And
Yes.
I recently started a travel channel, just documenting different people, how people live around the world. And when I would tell people I'm from the Bronx, they're like, the Bronx?
I know. I
Like,
know.
they think of it's so dangerous. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm filming all these countries and things. I need to film in the Bronx and show people it's not, you got your parts
Yes.
or whatever, whatever.
And that's everywhere. That's everywhere.
So I filmed the summer after the pandemic because, everybody
Mm.
went back outside and I said that would be
Uh-huh.
a good moment to document. So in saying all that, can you talk to me a little bit about your experience in the Bronx growing up?
Oh my God, that is so funny that you asked that because Coco and I are being honored in June by the Bronx borough president. So I'm super excited. I can't even front. Like I'm so excited to be doing that. And I had to write something about why the Bronx is important to me. And basically, the Bronx has really, like you said before, like everywhere you go, it has this great moments and it has like really bad moments. But in a crazy kind of way, it's those challenges, like growing up as a kid, that kind of helped groom me to be the woman that I am today. The Bronx has been my playground for so long, and I still continue to go back there to this day. And it's so refreshing, like when you see how far you've come, in life. I go to my old building and just kind of take pictures of the hallway. Of course, a lot of things look really different now and people look different now, but it just kind of puts me in a space of humility and just it just makes me more humble and feel blessed about my journey thus far because everybody didn't make it. I go back home, there's a lot of people that passed away just trying to figure out how to move from A to B and just never happened. So I feel like I have to live for a lot of those people who probably won't get out the Bronx. So that's why it's so important to me because I still have people there that's happy for me that wish they was in this position that I am. So I definitely don't take it for granted at all.
And what part of the Bronx were you raised in?
High bridge, baby. High
Woo!
bridge. High bridge.
Wow. I grew up a few blocks from there, 170th and Nelson.
There you go. There
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
go.
So how is it when you see someone like, well, obviously yourself coming out of the Bronx, but Cardi B from High Bridge?
Uh-huh.
What was that like when you first blew up and you see another Bronx person?
I love it. I love it. I love it. Like Cardi B was, she's just different. She was just different, but the what I love about her is that she made it just being herself. And I mean the girl is like out of here right now and she still continues to be herself. She just surrounded around different people. But I love it. I love a good success story. The summers in the Bronx. Oh my God. Oh, see, back then, I don't know, for those of you who don't know, see, in New York, period, we don't have like, we have a lot of high rises. A lot of our buildings don't really have elevators. If they did have elevators, they didn't work. We didn't have pools, so our space was really limited. But as young kids, we made the best out of whatever we had in front of us. Like the fire hydrants was our playtime, that was our pool. So we actually played games when we were growing up. We played hopscotch, we played double dutch, straight rope, we played spades, pity pat. So there was always something to do. And what I realized about the kids today, they get bored. I'm like, why are you bored? We never got bored as kids. It was always something to do.
So in growing up in the Bronx and going through the trials and tribulations, that a lot of people go through in the inner cities, what
Hmm.
advice would you give to someone who might be watching and just feeling like maybe, man, how do I get out of this? Or
That's a good question. I'm going to say this, everybody's journey is different. But I think a great way to start is asking yourself, how did I get in this situation? And a lot of times we forget about that. Like we are most of the time we're our own problem. And we just, it's always usually some bad decision that we've made or hooking up with the wrong people and just kind of hanging on to those people that we feel like we not supposed to get rid of because there's a certain level of obligation, that we feel to those people because they know something about us. You know what I mean? So we kind of hold on a lot of times to our poison. And once we realize how we got in the situation, it's pretty easy to navigate a way out. It's not just one particular way because everybody's walk is different.
Right,
Like
right.
I've never did drugs or anything like that. So I can't tell you um, some like a crackhead or somebody that with an abuse problem how to get off of cocaine or how to get off of heroin or whatever because I don't know. I really I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what how it makes your body feel. I don't know the need for it. But I can tell you how to stay away from boys.
I do want to mention your book. I regret the
I
day.
regret the day I lost my virginity. You are not prepared.
What made you name the book with that title?
The crazy thing is, I was in a relationship, and in that relationship, we just had a lot of open dialogue, open conversations. And he asked me, "Let me ask you a question." I'm like, "What?" He said, "Is there anything in your life that you regret?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "What is it?" I said, "Well, I regret the day I lost my virginity." And he's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, believe it or not, I really regret losing my virginity." And he said, "Wow, you need to write about it, you know?" And I say that because I'll be 50 years old. And when you're a young girl doing a lot of crazy stuff, no matter why you're doing it, whether you feel like you have to do it or because that's just something that you want to do, you don't ever think you're going to be a 49-year-old woman. You know what I'm saying? You don't even see that far ahead. So I'm like, wow, I'm 49 today. I'll be 50 years old July 17th. I'm not married. I've never been married. And that's something that I wish I could really give my husband. You know what I'm saying? I could give him everything but that. So, and the way I lost my virginity, it just kind of sucks. Like I wouldn't know the guy if he slapped the shit out of me. You know what I mean? Because life changes for everybody. Everybody look different. And just that whole peer pressure thing. I remember clearly how that happened. Like I was so immature. I had no idea what it meant to pop the cherry and all of that crazy stuff. I told the guy because I was hanging out with my older cousin and she was a busybody. And I didn't want to be the girl that wasn't having sex. I was young. I didn't realize back then that it's okay to be popular for the right thing.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't get that message back then, but I didn't understand what it was like to lose your virginity. I knew it had something to do with sex. I really didn't understand what sex was. I mean, I've seen a penis before. I've seen a vagina before because I have one, obviously, but I didn't know the connection. I didn't understand the connection. So I was telling this guy that I wasn't a virgin. I was like, I ain't no virgin, that kind of young kid stupid talk. And when the day came, he it was a struggle. It was a big struggle. And he was like, "You sure you had sex before?" I said, "Yeah, I had sex," just being so excited about a lie. And that's when I knew he told me, I just continued on with this lie. And that was the day I lost my virginity.
Wow.
It wasn't special. It was just based off of a lie, just trying to fit in, trying to do something that all my older cousins and my friends were doing. And I wish I could get that day back.
Is it true you didn't know you were pregnant at one point?
Oh yeah, yeah. My mom. told me I was pregnant. I got pregnant at 15 with my daughter. And I was just, I was a tomboy growing up. So I was doing flips and rolling over and just doing a bunch of crazy stuff. But I would get up in the middle of the night eating crackers and water. I had no idea why I was eating crackers and water, but I was just craving crackers and water. So my mother would be like, "Why you always getting up all time of night eating crackers and water?" You know? And the next day she said, "I'm taking you to the doctor. You pregnant. I'm taking you to the doctor." My mom told me. She told me. I ain't pregnant. So that whole back and forth. Like, all right, you gonna see. You gonna that whole thing. But and that day when my mom took me to the hospital, the lady told me that I was pregnant. And at that same time, Harlan Hospital, you can pretty much schedule a termination at the same time. And I was trying to make an appointment to terminate the pregnancy. And that lady said, "You ain't getting rid of this baby." I was almost 6 months pregnant. I was not showing. It's so crazy because my daughter is like right here, and I hate to think about giving her away. But yeah, that's what it was. Like mom knows best. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. A lot of times we be spot on, but that was the beginning of my motherhood journey. I had to connect with that kid, and when I did, I really didn't care about what anybody thought. My main focus at that point was to do something great with my life, to kind of change everybody's perception of who they thought I was. And I was fired up. I was so fired up. I was determined to do something great, and make a life for my kid at the time.
And what was that dynamic like? Because essentially you're growing up as your child growing. You guys are growing up
Mhm.
together.
It was tough, but I had a great village. Like my mom had retired, and she was a main source of emotional support for me. We didn't have much money. My mom didn't have much money when she retired. So what happened was I had to get two part-time jobs to equal one full-time job because I was so young. Back in New York, you had to work, you had to be a certain age to work full-time. I believe it was what, 18. I think you had to be 18, 17 or 18 to work full-time. And I was still trying to figure out what I was going to do about school. For a long time, I went to school, but it became so hard on me just kind of having this little baby and going to work two jobs and going to school. So I had to make the painful decision of leaving school to work full time from to take care of my kid. And I chose that.
Do you remember the day you decided I want to start a singing group?
I do. I do. Actually, it was before I got pregnant. Like I just felt like I wanted to do something in entertainment. I probably was 12 or 13 years old. I want to say 13. But when I got pregnant and gave birth to my daughter, it was just my thoughts was just all over the place. Like I had to make it. I had this big battery in my back to really do something great. And we started working on demos and recording and stuff like that. We had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't even know back then that anything was going to happen. But I was just praying that I could put myself in a position to take care of my kid. Yep. And
That New York hustle.
yeah, yeah. And I've always been a hustler all the time. Hmm.
And back then it for artists, it wasn't as easy as like now they could just get on YouTube, sing a song and get a record deal.
That's true.
How on earth, coming from the Bronx, did you secure a record deal, you guys?
You know what? I wish I could say we had much of a fight. It wasn't that bad. But what I will tell you is that we had to be really creative, and we had to do the work. We had to do the work pretty much. I had this connect that put us in the studio, and from that connect, we was able to record this song, which was the title track on our album, It's About Time. Unfortunately, the guy that we were working with, Donald D. Bowding, he passed away. And we took that song and shopped it to RCA Record, our manager. I believe she had like this big, huge box with Perrier water in it and newspaper. So you had to really be creative because everybody was hitting those record labels back then, you know. So we took up the few songs that we recorded, and she took it to RCA, and we set up a meeting. The A&R, Kenny Ortiz, loved the way we sounded, but he hated the music. He didn't like a lot of the songs that was on our demo, so he had us sing live, and that just kind of sealed the deal for us. So from that moment, us singing live in his office led us into getting a demo deal. The demo deal was so amazing that the demo deal led us into a full-fledged record deal. So that's what happened.
And did the label, because nowadays it's all about, well, not really nowadays, but back then it was that image of the perfect image and whatever, whatever. Did the label try to change the image or did they
Oh
embrace
my
it?
God, yes. Yeah, if I can say so myself, I was terrible. I was so not tactful at all. I didn't know. I just say, sometimes I look back at those videos, I'm like, I would have slapped the hell out of me if I was an adult. I'm like, shut up, stupid. Like, you sound so dumb, you know? And I look at those, I'm like, oh, that was just young Lelee, you know, just excited for the moment and the opportunity. But we didn't really understand what we were getting into. We were just girls from the Bronx and Brooklyn, New York. And so we were cool as long as the people around our hood, they understood our language, you know? So, oh, I would slap the shit out of me back then. But yeah, we got they try to put us with a what do you call it? Damn, what do they call it? Oh God, I can't even think about it now. Charm school. They tried to put us through
Uh,
charm school to teach us how to hold the fork, how to speak, how to do interviews, and all of this stuff. And we like, we ain't got time for this shit.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was something. But I can see why things were the way it is back then.
Right, right.
Yeah, because it's different now. They don't give a shit what you do nowadays. Like, honey, the crazier you sound,
The
the
better,
more
right,
views you
right,
get, the
right,
better, the more money you make. I'm like, well, damn, I was late.
right. You started it. You started
I
it.
started it, yeah.
What was the particular moment for you that you realized, oh shit, like like you felt like, wow, we made it.
Well, when the video was playing in heavy rotation on Video Music Box, you remember Video Music Box?
Woo! Ralph McDaniels, yep, yep.
Robert Daniels. And I think I want to say, if I can remember, it was Video Music Box. At one point, you had to pay to hear a song. Was it
Yep, yep, yep.
So people would request our song and pay to hear our song. And you know, back then, my job was to go to my godmother's house. That's where I grew up at. And she would give me like this book of food stamps, and I would go shopping for her and do her laundry. So this one day I did go shopping for, and we got a record on the radio. I'm in my white convertible, but that was my job, you know. So when I got the groceries, took it back upstairs, and at that particular moment, I guess word had got out that, oh, she's here, she's at her godmother's house or whatever. Man, I could not get out the door. They was knocking on the door. It was crazy. Just all of these fans just wanting that moment with me. And I didn't really understand because that was the first time this ever happened. That's when I was like, wow, okay, maybe this is a little different. Maybe I need to move a little different, you know?
And you really didn't like Right Here?
I still hate that song. I hate to say that sometimes, but that song is so boring to me. Dude, that song is every time I hear it. Now, I do have an appreciation for the version with Michael Jackson
Of course.
because there's some kind of the song just kind of moves in a different kind of direction when that part comes on and is giving you a lot of his human nature mix, and it just feels good at that moment when that little change kind of happens. But oh God, I hate that song.
So when you're recording this song that you don't even like, obviously you're not imagining Michael Jackson's gonna hop on this. What, how did, how did, how did that happen? Well, how did you find, where were you when you first found out that that was gonna happen? What was your reaction?
Well, we were on tour. I think we were doing our promo tour. See, a lot of people don't know that that version was not our original version. So we was working the original version right here. Like the video was out on YouTube, and that's the version that I love, the one that Brian Morgan did, because it had this little bop, dun, 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 dun. And it was just, back then it was all about if you didn't have a song that you could bop to, it was all about the bop, like, hey. And that song didn't give me that. But when we worked with Teddy Riley and Ken and our A&R at the time, Kenny Ortiz, he was trying to explain to us what the vision was. We still didn't get it. We really did not get it. But once the song was done and radio just kind of just took it out of here, and to know that Michael Jackson, we had his stamp of approval, and when we heard his mix on it, it was just like, damn, like you gotta love it. You gotta love it at that point. But it's always exciting. It's always exciting when you have people of that magnitude that just appreciate what you've done.
Had y'all ever spoke to him or seen him or anything?
No, no.
And
We had one encounter at the Children's Choice Awards, I believe, and kind of got a glimpse of him just running in the van. They were running him into the van, and it was beautiful to see the back of him and the side of him.
was there anybody you ever met back then that had you starstruck?
Oh my God. Somebody I met back then that had me starstruck. Um, I wasn't really, nobody really impressed me.
Okay,
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I wasn't the one that always ran to take a picture with somebody. Like I just kind of enjoy the moment. I
got you.
like things that happen organically. So, but I met one person. Well, it was a few. Um, they were popular at one point, but most of the people that I really loved are deceased. Like the people that I really wanted to meet, like Pendergrass and Donny Hathaway, and just all of these really dope, amazing singers. And like today, I want to meet Berry Gordy. I want to have a sit down and talk to Smokey Robinson. But I really want to meet Diana Ross too. I
Ooh.
just want to meet all of these legends and just have that opportunity to just say, well done. You know what I mean? And get my picture. Like those are the people who mean a lot to me because they paved the way for a lot of us to do what we're doing today. And I think a lot of times they get wrote out the book. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I feel like one of my favorite artists of all time is Millie Jackson. And a lot of people don't know Millie Jackson was Little Kim before Little Kim. Like she was that bold woman, like she had that Superman cape on. If there was ever a woman who will fight you like a dude with her mouth, it was Millie Jackson. Like she was just bold and raunchy, and people loved her because of that. And I'm one of those people. But it's people like that who really get me excited. Now I met Jennifer Holliday. That was a big moment for me because my sister Malia bought me the Dreamgirls album for my birthday. I want to say it was my 10th birthday. And I just love Jennifer Holliday. So when I met her, we did President Clinton's inaugural, was it his inaugural service? We performed, I believe it was his inaugural. We performed um, for him or whatever. And they were saying, well, don't walk up to him, let him come up to you. And then in that moment, I met Jennifer Holliday. And I cried when I met this lady because I couldn't believe how this young girl had such a powerful instrument. And I got an opportunity to talk to her, and she was telling me, she said to me, she said, yeah, I was 19 when I did that. I said, 19? To this day, I believe it's two of the best recorded songs that has ever been recorded. And I'm telling you, I'm not going, Jennifer Holliday and Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You.
Oof.
Two of the best recorded songs that was ever recorded. I mean, to me, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that won't agree, but it's okay. But it's people like her who really don't get the opportunity to flourish. Like I said, we celebrate people when they pass away, and I think that's so unfair. So I just feel like it's kind of like my duty to show them some type of love while they're here. And Stacey Lattisaw back then was just everything to me. And that was my first concert I ever went to. I was 8 years old, watching Stacey Lattisaw, and I was just so infatuated with this young girl just doing shows with the Whispers. Like she was what, 12, 13. So I still want to hear Stacey Lattisaw sing today.
Hmm.
If she can just do it one more time, I could rest in peace.
Speaking of paving the way, you guys had mentioned Destiny's Child used to follow you around.
Oh my God, yes.
What is that like? Well, for one, there's a two part. For one, what is it like just to see a young group looking up to you as a group? And then the second part, years later, you see it Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, and everyone.
To be honest, everything that they are today, we kind of saw it back then. A lot of people love Beyonce so much, but we saw a Beyonce and Kelly, and at the time you had Latavia Robinson and Latoya Luckett was a part of the group. But when I tell you, them girls sing on the spot, and Beyonce, I remember her just kind of being that leader. Like she's always been a leader. She would be so young, like, okay, let's do it like this. Whatever it was, like she'll just kind of, navigate them through that moment. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I call Beyonce, if there was anybody that was the next best thing to Jesus Christ, is that damn Beyonce. I mean, Beyonce is just everything an artist should be. Her work ethic is crazy. She cares about her employees as far as, clearly she doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to, but it's the love and the passion I'm sure that she has for the industry and her fans that keep her moving, you know. And she knows that her employees depend on her to take care of their families. I mean, what a boss, you know what I mean? So yeah, she's definitely been an inspiration to a lot of us, especially just kind of keeping it business. You don't see a lot of Beyonce. You don't hear a lot about her as far as, it's from other people, but she's a woman of very few words. And when you see her we can all appreciate that. We enjoy all of them. Like I love all of them. I really do. And I'm happy for Kelly. Kelly has blossomed into this beautiful young woman. And as well as Kelly, Kelly kind of I'm sorry, Michelle came in, when they was going through their little transition. And I love her too. Like she's doing her thing, and Latavia and Latoya is just out of here. So I just support all of those girls. I think they're doing such amazing things. And I would encourage everybody to support all of them in their efforts, because it's hard. It's hard to come from a big machine such as that, and everything just kind of get crazy and trying to find your way. But they have all seemed to find their way, and I love it. We should all be inspired by that.
Had you seen any of them after, like once they became who they were? Had you seen
Oh yeah,
anything?
yeah, absolutely. I actually have a picture somewhere. I run into Beyonce. I was speaking to her at one point. And this is when Michelle was in the group, but I've gone to see them perform live. I've gone to her hotel and showed love, and it's just always love when I see any of the girls. Like it's always love, always love, always love.
You mentioned the big machine. Um, I remember for me growing up, just being, young and watching the Soul Train Awards, watching all the shows and just being fascinated with the industry and wanting to be a
Mm,
part of it somehow, right? Because you
uh-huh.
know, glitz and glamour, right? Then you kind of get behind the velvet rope, so to say. And for me, I don't know if it's like this for everyone, but I'm like, oh, y'all motherfuckers are shady in here. Some people, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it. And a lot of people don't know the business of the business.
Right.
Did you ever have any perception beforehand? And then, because maybe some people just want to be a singer and want to be on stage. And then when you get
Mm-hmm.
in it, you're like, man, there's a lot of work to do. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh my God. I tell everybody, all the aspiring singers and producers, I'm like, you got to understand that this is show business first. Excuse me, it's show business. So a lot of the stuff you see is like smoke and mirrors. Is most of it is fake. The way people present themselves is most of the time is fake. It's not really that many real ones out here. You know what I mean? But it's a job. I think we get caught up in the hype of it all, being on television. People get excited about that, just kind of being on the radio. People get excited, and it's a reason to be excited, but you can't just kind of stay there. You got to understand that this is business first, and these record labels don't give a shit about you. You a check. You a check. You a product. You a product, just like this makeup brush. You're a product. Once this go out of style, we're gonna throw this shit in the garbage and move on to the next. And that's how it works. And that's how it works. So I just feel bad for a lot of people who don't get that message early in the game because they get so caught up in the hype of it all. But when it's great, it's really great. If you can do what you have to do and share your gift with the world and know the business and hire the right people, I think everything will work out. Somebody's going to steal from you. I don't give a damn how important a person is, how much you pay them. There's always going to be one thief in your camp. Something you going to miss. You can't pretty much keep your hand on everything. You can't watch everything. So you just got to watch as much as you can and learn as much as you can, because I always say, even about managers, you got to be careful when it comes to managers, because I always say to a lot of artists coming up, if your manager knows more than you, then he or she is more valuable.
Hmm.
Because what if your manager dies? Then he got all your contacts, he have all your information. You know what I mean? So now you have to start this whole circus over all over again with booking agencies trying to figure out how to get in contact with you. It's just crazy. But I always tell them, you don't get caught up in the hype. It's a business. It
So
is a bit.
I've always wondered because you always hear about these rappers and singers with the groupies, male rappers and singers. Do
Hmm.
females get the same treatment?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes. It's probably worse than
Really?
men. Oh my God, I can't even. The only difference between the guys and the girls is the girls show it more publicly.
Hmm,
Like a guy that's interested in a girl, they would go through their friends and they would just like, yo, I gotta meet this girl. I just want to talk to her on the phone. I just want to take her out for dinner or whatever. And honey, we've gotten a lot of that.
is there one particular crazy story or funny thing that you could remember?
There was a basketball player one time that had a crush on me. And this is something that my publicist told me before she passed away. Rest in peace, Mary Moore. Um, she said his publicist called her and to ask me if I could go to a function with him. So they were trying to like create like some
Hmm,
conversation. That's how I know a lot of this shit be it'd be fake news. But this particular guy really liked me and he wanted that opportunity to take me out on a date. But I'm like, if he want to take me out on a date, why he gotta let's go on a date first and then go to a function if that's what we
true.
decide. That's so it just seemed like some industry bullshit to me. But
So you didn't
I
go.
did I did eventually end up talking to this guy later.
At some point, the group ended up breaking up.
Hmm.
Did you know it was going down that road, or was it a surprise to you?
No, I had no idea. I mean, just like any other job, you have issues, you have challenges, you have times where you don't like each other, you have times where you don't want to talk to each other, you have times where you don't understand each other. And I think that happened a lot with our group. We really didn't understand each other. Like because most of our moments together, we just kind of was goofy and playing around and talking to guys or whatever, but we never had a lot of those conversations that we should have had. Like most of the time, we don't really talk about. And when I say we, I'm speaking about everybody. We don't like talking about the things that make us uncomfortable or something that we feel is going to make somebody else uncomfortable. But those conversations are so important and they are necessary. They're necessary. So if you just kind of stay stuck in that one little trying to figure it out, it's going to leave everybody just not knowing, not understanding, and trying to figure out what this person is thinking, what that person is thinking. And when you finally mature and get together and have the conversation, you realize, damn, all I had to do was this. All I had to do was that. All I had to do was give her a hug or give him a hug. Like it'd be simple shit like that that'll make somebody's day and we miss it, but you see a lot of things as an adult. You of course you look back and look at life back then and you realize, damn, I should have done this different, but you can't. You can only pretty much pick up where you left off and just be a better person today. But just like any other job, you can get fired, things can get really messed up and you still have to find out who you are as a person. And for me it was tough. I had no identity. SWV was my identity. So I had to find who I was, find out who Leanne was, because at one point Leanne loved herself. Leanne didn't have no money. Leanne didn't have 10 pairs of shoes. I had one pair of shoes with holes in it, but I was still peaceful. I was still happy. I had to find her again because Leanne got so caught up in Lelee because Lelee is the person that everybody was attracted to. But Lelee was going through a lot of shit. Lelee was unhappy, not peaceful at all. So I try to encourage everybody, don't get caught up in the hype of this stuff. Love yourself regardless. And and know your worth. Know your worth. Know that you're here for a reason. And don't stop until you complete your journey, you know?
Well, in finding yourself, you did experience a moment where you were homeless, correct?
Oh yeah. When you think of homeless, I wasn't on Skid Row. I wasn't sleeping on the floor on 42nd Street in Times Square. I lost everything. I lost my place. You know, I didn't really have I was so dependent on finding somewhere to sleep, you know, and other people, you know. So of course, I had two kids. I had to make sure my kids were taken care of. But me, I just kind of slept in my truck for a minute, and that in the craziest way. I know that sounds crazy, but if you're familiar with Yankee Stadium, that parking lot before they built that new stadium, I used to go in my truck. Now, mind you, my truck, I couldn't afford to make the payments anymore. So they was looking, I was riding hot. Like I had no insurance. Everything was just bad, right? But I would keep the heat on. I would go in that parking lot and, you know, just kind of go to sleep at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, just so I could get the daylight because I was scared, you know, to sleep by myself because, you know, anything can happen. Somebody could kill you or you can get hurt or raped or whatever. And it's something about that moment that was probably the most important moment in my life because that changed everything for me. It was in that parking lot that I decided to give my car back, give this truck back. And I said to myself, I said, if God bless me one time, he's going to bless me again because I didn't even ask for this blessing. I didn't even ask for this. And he gave this to me. So I was always confident in knowing that God is, and I don't want to sound super spiritual, but he's the only person that I had at this moment. So I always felt like God is a God of a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th chance, you know. And I really believe that if he blessed me this time, he'll bless me again. So it was that moment I took my truck to the Ford dealership. I said, I came here to give you what belongs to you. And when I walked away, I'd walked away without no transportation, but I was free. I was free. I felt a level of peace that just came over me and so much weight just I kind of left the weight there. I
Hmm.
felt light. I felt lighter. I just got happier. And that moment I started to dream again. Started to dream again. And you know, of course, it was a process to get to that point. But I mean, everything bad that could possibly happen to me, it happened, but it could have been worse. I don't have to, I couldn't have been here right now. You
So,
know what I mean? And everybody's always asked me, well, why didn't you go stay with your family? And why didn't you go stay? You could have stayed with, it wasn't about you. It wasn't about my family. I was very prideful. I wanted people to remember me as Lelee. I no longer had her anymore, you know. So I felt like, oh shit, well, I'm Lelee, but I'm not the Lelee that they love. So why should I show up? They don't give a shit. You know what I mean? So I had all of these crazy emotions going on in my head. But it was that moment. I just kind of found I chose life. I
ooh,
chose life. And I mean, I had thoughts of suicide. And I don't know. I don't think you could say that word anymore, right?
really?
I don't know. I don't think people say that word anymore. It's another word, but I mean, hey, if we going back there, back then it
Right,
was a
right, right.
word. So, well, yeah, I was just the devil was just kind of all over me. I mean, oh my God! And just one day, I just woke up and just chose life. I was beating myself in the head. I'm like, how dare you? try to take a life that you didn't even give yourself.
Mm,
And I was free from that spirit. I was free fast from that spirit. It's like I saw this ray of light that was so beautiful, and I started to dream again. I found Leanne at that moment, and Leanne just started to dream again. And I write this in my other book, about just kind of comparing Lelee to Leanne, and how you're never supposed to lose who you were before you got successful.
mm.
Yes, you do things a little differently, you move differently, but there's something special in that diamond in the rough. It is very special. So I had to learn how to love myself. I had to convince myself I wasn't the person that everybody perceived me to be. And here she go.
Wow. So what, I mean, it kind of answered the question. I was gonna follow it up with what advice would you give to someone watching who might be feeling like they want to leave Earth? They don't really have the hope.
A lot of times we make our decisions based on people. And I have this saying when people always ask me, well, how did you do this? First of all, you have to deliver yourself from people. We ask God for everything, but we never ask God, God, please deliver me from people. People are the worst. People are the worst, and we give them so much control over who we are. We give them control over our life. They determine whether we cry or not. They determine whether we have a job or not. They determine whether we, whatever position we're in, or wherever we're trying to be in, or whether it comes in a friendship or a relationship or a husband or a wife. We put too much trust in people, in human. Wherever there's a human, it's going to be some sad, fucked up shit. Period. Because all they have to do is decide one day, I don't like you anymore. You told me no the other day. And now I'm about to change your life. I'm about to mess your stuff up. Hell no. Don't give them that much power. Oh my God. I learned that the hard way. We give people too much power, even in relationships. We know we ain't supposed to be in that relationship. We know everything they've been saying about this person is true. Everybody ain't lying. But we stay stuck in there and think we're gonna change this person. No, it's time to go. Like when it comes to situations, especially people that I'm dating, oh no, if you ain't a part of my peace, you're gonna be a part of my failures.
Mm,
And that's the bottom line. Like I've dealt with so much stuff just with being a mother and being you know an entrepreneur, just trying to get my stuff off the ground, being a part of a brand, a industry for 30 something years that I never felt appreciated me. Oh no, I ain't got a 30 nothing to give nothing and nobody but me, because I'm at the midpoint right now. You know what I'm saying, of life. That's just the truth. I'll be 50 years old in July. And right now I am doing everything I want to do, whether people like it or not. And I'm being intentional about my journey, and I am planning for my exit. So I would advise everybody else to do the same thing. Like just make sure you enjoy everything you can about this life, because we only have one time to do it. Just one time to do it. So that's what I would say.
I didn't know how to segue into this, so we're just gonna talk relationships. What is Lelee single, dating? Because you've talked about your dating life a lot.
I am dating. Um, there's somebody that I love, that I'm considering, trying to figure out if that's the direction I want to be in. But he's a very special guy, and um what I didn't have before, or I didn't understand, like it was all about men who wanted me. So at this stage in my life, it's all about who I want, who makes me feel good. You know what I mean?
One.
So it's a lot of them that want me now, but it ain't about that anymore. It's about who I want. And if who I want makes me feel good and he go out his way to make sure I'm happy, then that's going to be the person that I that's going to bury me pretty much. So,
I don't really want to talk about Queens of R&B, but just a quick question.
uh,
Because the show's over. We
mhm.
saw all the madness. Um, what did you envision when you went into it, and how was it different to your vision?
Well, we initially was hoping to do a tour, right? An integrated tour, or integrated show. That didn't happen, but we knew going in that it would eventually end up being a show. It went from a trying to do a tour to a show. And we all knew that it was going to be an integrated show. That's why we were having the meetings to try to figure out how we was going to do the show. So I don't know. As the show went on, a lot of crazy stuff just started happening. A lot of internet stuff was happening, and it became this person is this person needs the clothes and why, and that person don't need the clothes and why, and I don't even know where that came from. It all started from just us trying to decide what song should close, one song or the other. Week was a bigger record. Week is bigger than every record that we both groups ever made. So it wasn't an ego thing. We was just saying like maybe we should close with Week. Who knows? That could have been a moment. Everybody loved Week. It could have been a moment where we all could have kind of shared the stage together and just sang the song together. But it didn't work that way. It just kind of went crazy. The fans can kind of those fans be going in, and that can kind of artists take that personal a little bit when the fans start fighting each other, and we kind of tap in sometimes. And if I can say one more thing about Queens of R&B, I just don't feel like we went about it the right way. I felt like something that could have been so amazing ended up being not happening at all. We eventually did the show, which was great. Like that moment to be on stage with Xscape was so great and dope. And even at that moment, you just felt like, damn, this should we should do this. Like this shouldn't be like the last thing. But sometimes business just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So got mad love for them, man. I
Are you guys
believe in I,
hoping maybe one day
huh?
to trying again a tour, or?
I'm hell yeah. Yes, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Because for some reason the fans like that friendly competitive stuff. So,
Hmm.
we fans of theirs. Like we've been supporting them for a long time, but when this industry is different today.
You mentioned the fans and the industry being different. What is it like dealing with social media? Because
I
we didn't
hate
have that
social
in the 90s.
I hate social media. It's like that fly you can't freaking get rid of. Like I mean, people use it for good, and some people just use it to hate. Life was so much better when everybody didn't have a voice. When we were able to shut people the hell up, life was just so beautiful. And now we have this thing called cancel culture, which I don't understand where the hell that came from. So if I don't agree, if I have an opposing view, then you're gonna cancel me and stop my money and stop me from feeding my grandbaby and taking it's this shit is different.